Hello everyone, my name is Asyrafchazz and welcome back to yet another One Piece card game video. So, the official card list of the blue and green starter deck have finally been revealed and I'm super excited to finally be talking about them. So the first one is definitely the green starter deck 2, based on the worst generation pirates. So we're going to talk about the green starter deck list right in this video, and in the next video I'll talk about the blue starter deck featuring Crocodile and all of his Shichibukai friends. Now keep in mind that the card list has not given us the proper ratios of each card in the deck, but once they give us the updated number, I'll definitely put it in the pinned comment section below or in the description below. So if you ever want to refer back to it, you can always come back and see the cards themselves. Now also, we are only a couple of days away. We are exactly 5 days away from the release of the starter deck, so I'm really excited to be getting my hands on them and doing like opening videos for all of the starter decks. So please keep a lookout for that, and if you want to keep up to date with more One Piece card game news, although a little bit late this week, please consider giving this video a like and subscribing if you can. So without further ado, let's take a look at the green starter deck featuring Eustace Kid representing the worst generation pirates. Alright, so I am using the official One Piece card game website, the one that is based on Asia, so like even like Singapore or like Malaysia and etc. I have the link to it in the description below, so you can take a look and you can actually see the whole card list right here. But if you click onto the card, because the cards are in Japanese, but if you click onto the card, they actually have the translations for the effects. So I'm going to read off this site and we're just going to talk about every single card in the green starter deck, starting with Eustace Captain Kid, the official leader for the green starter deck. 5,000 power with the special attribute with the with 5 life, so basic kind of stat line for every leader for the starter decks. And it's part of the Supernovas and Kid Pirates, and its effect is activate main once per turn, 3 Dawn. That means you must rest 3 Dawn in your cost area to activate this effect, and you may trash 1 card from your hand, set this leader as active. So we have already talked about this card. If you want to see me go more in depth with this card effect, I'll put a link to my previous video in the top right hand corner of this video. But basically it just gives an additional attack with the Eustace Kid leader if you used his effect. Now you do have to trash 1 card from your hand, making it like, you know, it might be a counter that you need down the line, but if you have extra cards and you trash it and you want to go in for that finisher, then Eustace Kid is definitely really good. Imagine if you put 3 Dawn cards onto Eustace Kid, making him 8,000 power, and then you attack into your opponent finds it hard to counter, he takes the life and he's like no more life left. You just pay 3, trash 1 card from your hand and set it active. It still has the Dawn on it, so it's still 8,000 power and you can attack in once again. So you can be aggressive, you can do this ability early with Eustace Kid, but I feel like as a like really big punch finisher at the end, Eustace Kid is definitely really good as a leader. So next up we have Vito, which is part of the Fire Tank Pirates. So Mr. Capone or El Capone, one of his crewmates. He's 3 cost 5,000 power with the range attribute. Now, and it has also counter 1,000. So this is the vanilla card for this deck, similar to Robin from the Straw Hat Crew starter deck. Nothing much to talk about it except, like, you know, at least Vito has shown some love in the starter deck as well. Next up we have Uroge, which is 2 cost 3,000 power with the Striker attribute. He has counter 1,000 and is part of the Supernovas and Fallen Monk Pirates. Now his effect is Dawn 1. If you have 3 or more characters, this card gains plus 2,000 power. So as long as you have 1 Dawn attached to him and you have 3 or more characters, his attack will be 6k. So you can play this if you're going second on if you're on the second starting player, on turn 2 you can drop this guy down, and on your second turn you will have access to 4 Dawn. If you drop another 2 of these cards down, or 1 cost or 1 and 3 cost card, because it does count itself as one of the 3 or more characters, and then you'll be swinging in for 6k. You just need 1 Dawn attached to this guy and then you're ready to go. But of course, like, you know, having dependency of multiple characters will come up in the future, because like in the starter deck you'll tend to like kind of flood the board a little bit before you start really attacking. And this guy does have a decent stat line if you have 3 or more characters, so I think it's okay, but it's situational. That's the thing, it's situational. But if you can get it off early, you can kind of have it like there just to set it up, and then you have if you have more of a board later on, then you're golden. Next up we have Capone Gang Beach. which is a 1 cost 1000 power with a special attribute, has no counter, but it has blocker. It's also part of the Supernovas and the Fire Tank Pirates. So this is the chopper of the deck, which is it's just kind of because like he's the captain himself. Like if he has a leader card in the future, I would love to see like the big father kind of form. But for what he is, 1 cost 1000 with the blocker attribute, it's good, it's decent. It's an early game blocker that you can set up and you can prevent like finisher attacks with him. So decent, you know, it's good. Next up, we have Killer. Now, we've talked about Killer before, but it's a 3 cost, 3000 power, the Slasher attribute. Part of the Supernova and Kid Pirates, has counter 1000, and his ability is on play, KO one of your opponent's vested characters with a cost 3 or less, and his triggered ability is play this card. So, definitely similar to something like the Who's Who from the Kaido starter deck, except he can only affect vested characters that's cost 3 or less. And if your opponent attacks into your life, let's say like a Rush Sanji, which is 2 cost by the way, attacks into your life, and you see a killer, you trigger it, and then you can immediately just get rid of the Sanji right there. The bad thing about this card is only 3000 power, so you do need to attach a minimum of 2 Dawn to him to get over the 5000 power Dawn leader card power. So you have to take that into consideration. But as a utility, as a one-time like destroy one of your opponent's vested character with a cost of 3 or less, you know, some of the problem ones out there, something like, you know, Zoro or even Jinbei from the Straw Hat Crew starter deck. So this guy does have some utility, and it's a great triggered card as well. Next up, we have Kobe. He is 4 cost, 6000 power, the striker attribute, and he has counter 1000. So this is the vanilla Kobe, similar to Frankie from the Straw Hat Crew starter deck. I mean, there's not much to say except like we know his we know that he has a connection to one of the worst generation pirates, which is X Drake, and I think that's what they're doing. They're putting like 2 of each of the kind of like supernovas in this deck, and it's kind of great. You know, this is a decent card, but it's just a vanilla. So definitely one of the cards that if you have a nice replacement effect, you definitely want to replace this card immediately for green. But we'll talk about that in future videos. Alright, next up we have Jewelry Bonnie. Now this is a card that I'm very excited to talk about because her ability is actually quite strong. So Jewelry Bonnie is 1 cost, 1000 power with a special attribute, part of the Supernovas and Bonnie Pirates, and has counter 1000. Now her ability is activate main, pay 1, that means you rest 1 Dawn in your cost area to activate this effect, as well as resting this card. That means you must rest Jewelry Bonnie alongside 1 Dawn to use this card's ability. You can look at the top 5 cards of your deck, reveal 1 Supernova type card and add it to your hand. Then place the rest at the bottom of your deck in any order. So very strong card because it is a card searcher. It is something that you want to use to like search your Supernova type card and add it to your hand. Now keep in mind, it's a Supernova type card, which doesn't limit yourself to only searching for characters. You can also search for events with Jewelry Bonnie. Now this is an ability that you can activate like once per turn, or like multiple times. If you can unrest, you can make Bonnie into active and then you can use it again. I'm not sure what the cornerstone situation is for that, but it might come up later on when we take a look at the lore card. But the fact that you have to rest this card to use this ability makes it a high value target for your opponent to attack into it. And now she only has 1000 power. If your opponent uses their leader to attack to Bonnie, you have to counter like at least up to 6k to defend against the attack, which is not really worth saving at that point. So if you get 1 activation out of Jewelry Bonnie, it's great. You find what you need and then let her go. And if you can play another one and use it again, it's fine. But I don't think she is that worth keeping around for multiple turns. If your opponent wants to get rid of it, okay, just play another one, you know. But the card ability is very strong for you to get like searching. You have a card searcher in a starter deck. I think it's really good. Next up, we have Scratchman Apu. Now, we've talked about this card before, but it's a 2 cost, 3000 power, the range attribute, counter 2000, so very strong. Part of the Supernovas and on-air pirates, and its effect is Dawn 1 when attacking, rest 1 of your opponent's Dawn cards. This is great because when you attack into your opponent, you can rest his Dawn card so that he doesn't have the resources to play the event card, especially for those 2 cost event cards that you want to keep up. If Scratchman Apu is on like your side of the field, your opponent really has to think about whether he wants to keep more than 1 or 2, 3 Dawns up, just to make sure that the ability won't affect him in any way. But as It's a 3000 power, so you do need to attach at least 2 Dawn if you want to attack comfortably into the opponent's leader, so it's something to think about as well. But the effect is quite strong, I think, and it definitely has some use in certain cornerstone situations. Alright, next up we have the Trafalgar Law, 5 cost, 6000 power with the Slasher attribute. It has counter 1000, part of the Supernovas and Heart Pirates, and its ability is on play, set one of your Supernovas or Heart Pirates type vested characters with a cost of 5 or less as active. So this is good on getting multiple attacks with a very strong character. We talked about the promo Eustace kit, you know, the one with double attack, and this is a very good target for that because you can attack into your opponent's leader with the double attack Eustace kit, play Law, unrested, attack yet again. It also works with that Jewelry Bonnie, like I said before. You can, because it doesn't say main once per turn, it just says main. So you use Bonnie's ability and then you play Law, you unrest her, and then you can use it again. Not sure why would you want to do that unless you want to specifically find a finisher or some sort of event card. But other than that, like Trafalgar Law, it's a really good card. I mean, at 5 cost and 6000 power is a really decent stat line as well to start treasuring into your opponent's life. So definitely something to think about in the future. Alright, next up we have Basil Hawkins. It's 5 cost, 6000 power with a Slasher attribute. Counter, no counter. Part of the Supernovas and Hawkins Pirates, and its ability is Dawn 1 once per turn. If this character battles your opponent's character, set this card as active. So this is a very strong card to kind of clear the way for your opponent's like character cards. If your opponent has any problem characters that they need to keep around and you need to get rid of, Basil Hawkins is the best card to use in that situation because you can attack into, let's say, a rested Sanji, and if it's successful, it does battle, you just set it to active and he can attack something again. Because the effect only happens once per turn, you can only do it once, but it's also very good at attacking to your opponent, and if your opponent has a blocker and he needs to block it, the final attack or something, Hawkins will still be active at the end of the battle and he can attack in yet again. So really strong card. 5 cost, 6000. You know, a lot of the green cards are quite clunky in that kind of really mid-rangey cost. So you really have to think about what you want to prioritize first when you're playing this deck. Next up we have Heat, which is 2 cost, 4000 power with the special attribute. Has counter 1000. So this is another vanilla card, you know, similar to like VV, and yeah, part of the Kid Pirates. That's it. Then we have Beepo, which is 1 cost, 3000 power, the striker attribute, and also has counter 1000. So the Karoo of the deck, if you may. Alright, next up, let's take a look at Eustace Captain Kidd's character card. He's 7 cost, 7000 power with the special attribute, and it has part of the Supernova, Kid Pirates, and it has blocker. Also, it has Dawn 1, end of your turn, set this card as active. So this is the big bad of the card. This is the boss monster of the deck, similar to like the Rush Luffy. It is a very strong effect at, you know, if you have 1 Dawn, you can attack into your opponent for 8000, and at the end of your turn, you can set this up to active so that you can use it to block in the future. So I think, you know, green is all about that mid-rangey kind of being very defensive and really like big tough guys like 6,000-7,000 power and attacking into your opponent. And Eustace Kidd is a perfect target, perfect example of that. It does unfortunately fall into the target of Doflamingo from the blue starter deck, because you can just return this card to your hand and then you have to play it out again. But it's still a really good card, I think, although it's not as explosive as, you know, like the big 9-drop Kaido. It's still a decent card in my opinion. Next up we have X-Drake. Now X-Drake is 4 cost, 5000 power with the Slasher attribute, part of the Supernova and Drake Pirates, and also the Marines or the Navy. Is counter 1000, and its effect is Dawn 1, your turn. If this character is rested, your Supernovas or Marine type leader and character gains plus 1000 power. Now this is a very strong Anthem effect that gives everybody 1000 power as long as he's arrested. Now the fact that he affects like I don't know why they say Navy, it's Marines, right? I don't know why they say Navy, it's Marines. And like if the Marines are going to be like if the Marines are going to be quite prominent in set 2, if they are green Marines, then this card might have some use in that set as well. So if you're thinking of, you know, saving up to get like the Marine decks in the future, we've seen none of it so far. for set 2 or even the set 6, the starter deck 6, sorry. X-Drake will be a good addition to that if they have green. Definitely pick up this deck to kind of pick up this card instead. Alright, let's take a look at the event cards now. This is Scalpel, a 1-cost event card that is part of the Supernovas and Heart Pirates. Counter your leader or one of your characters gain plus 2000 power during this battle. Then set one of your Dawn cards as active. Triggered ability is set up to 2 of your Dawn cards as active. So a decent, boost in power plus 2000. Not as strong as some of the others out there. But you can set one of your Dawn cards as active, so you can use another Scalpel if you do have it in your hand. The triggered ability to set 2 of your Dawn cards to active, gives you the opportunity to play some event cards from your hand if you do have it. But I imagine that if you already have event cards in your hand, you already have the Dawn up for it if you want to use it in the future. So I don't know, very situational triggered ability. Maybe I'm not just seeing the potential in that triggered ability, but its main ability or main counter ability is actually decent enough to warrant like a spot in this deck. Next up, we have Repel, which is a 2-cost event card, part of the Supernovas and Kid Pirates. And its ability is counter your leader or one of your characters gain plus 4000 power during this battle. Then set one of your Dawn cards as active. So this is the plus 4000 power 2-cost event card, and the fact that you can set one of your Dawn cards as active, maybe you have a Scalpel in hand that you can now use with this ability activated, is pretty good. I mean, it's not as strong as some of the other ones out there, especially for the blue starter deck with the Love Beam, but it's decent. I think it's okay. The ones from the main set, the ones from the first One Piece set, those ones are good, and I've talked about in a previous video. I'll leave a link to it at the top right hand corner if you want to check it out. But this is like if you want to upgrade the deck, you get the new one. I can't remember the name of it right now, but go watch that video, you'll see what I'm talking about. And lastly, we have Straw Sword, which is based on Hawkins. It's 2 costs, part of the Supernovas and Hawkins Pirates. And his main ability is rest one of your opponent's characters. His triggered ability is play one Supernova type card with a cost 2 or less from your hand. So let's talk about the main ability first, which is to rest one of your opponent's character cards. It's pretty okay. I mean, if you want to get rid of a problematic support type character like Nami, you can use this to rest it so that you have a clear attack. But at that point, it becomes a 1 for 2. That means you're using 2 cards to get rid of one thing. 2 cards being the event card and potentially another attacker. So I think it's okay. I think it has some use if you pair this well with the Hawkins character card from earlier, where you can attack and then it will make itself active. Then yeah, I see the kind of use for this card. That's a mini combo right there. But other than that, it's okay. And the triggered ability is, to play a Supernova type card with a cost 2 or less from your hand. Maybe you can play an Urok card in the future. Maybe if you need suddenly you need a blocker and you have a Capone in your hand, you can just suddenly drop it down with this ability. I think there might be some cases where it's useful, but since it's like triggered, you can't really control it. It's just more like, oh, okay, I can play a card for free. That's it. So yeah, this is the full list of it, and you can take a look at the cards from the website. I'll have it linked down in the description below. We don't really know the ratios of the cards in the deck, but we'll be opening the starter deck real soon, so I'll definitely let you guys know when the time comes. So there it is, every single card from the green starter deck. I think the green starter deck, I used to be like really into it, but right now I have tried it out a little bit. It's a little bit clunky at times, but I feel like once you adjust the ratios a little bit and you have like the cards from the main set upgraded into this one, then it's definitely going to be one of the coolest decks out there, especially with the Yusa's ability. I think it's pretty cool that you can attack in and attack in twice if you make him active again. And there are some really strong cards in this deck if you want to kind of pick it up just to have an upgrade in the future. One of them being Jewelry Bonnie. I think she's one of the strongest cards in the deck. Just the fact that it's a main searcher is really something else. And also I talked about X-Drake. If there's going to be a Marine focus set which is coming later on, set 2 is based on Marineford, and if there are green Marines, then X-Drake might come in handy in that regard. But other than that, solid deck, decent deck. Really excited to open it when I have my hands on it. But that's it for me for today. Hope you enjoyed the green starter deck rundown. We'll go talk about the blue starter deck in the next video, but until then, take care of yourselves. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.